Lynn Cullen goes live in 3 minutes. Goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, welcome to the gazillionth edition of Lynn Cullen Live. It is a Tuesday. It is the 22nd of March. And yet again, we have witnessed a horrific terrorist attack, this one in Brussels. My sister Susan is joining us from Chicago. Hi, Suze.
Hi. Yeah, they're showing some awful
video. You don't want to look. I know.
I'm sort of looking at the call and trying not to look at it.
Don't look at it. I had the same feeling, and I thought they at one point they said, "Oh, we just got some new video in," and they just threw it up. And my God, there were bodies lying on. I mean, I don't know that they shouldn't vet this stuff a little. And
they should give it a gander before they throw it up there.
On the other hand,
I mean, we should see the horror of it. On the other hand, I think some of these people deserve privacy.
I do too. If I were, I mean, that's.
Why do we have to? They've just suffered, some horrifying thing. Why do we have to rob them of whatever dignity and privacy that they have? I just feel like if there's nothing I can do to help, I shouldn't be looking.
Oh dear, yesterday I read the Yeats poem, "The Second Coming," and I said by the end of this year we'll all have this in our hearts by memory, because I'm going to read it a lot, because when you can't think of anything to say, This says it all. I'm just going to now, Suze, I'm going to read like about 5 lines from it.
Okay.
And you tell me if he couldn't have written this today. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born. Yeah. Celine had just said to me, it just seems like everything so, and has the world always been this crazy? And I said, yeah, I think it has, because, I mean, look at this. He was writing in 1919, and the world seemed every bit as insane to him.
And terrifying and out of control.
And it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was the end of World War I, and which is just the beginning of World War II.
Yeah, right,
essentially.
which is, right, the prequel.
Right. So he...
They're showing this.
Stop it. See, here's the other thing. I've had so many questions in my head as I drove into work. I had to turn it off. I have a satellite radio, but I turned it off. I just didn't want to hear any more of the incessant blather that technology has brought us to. So even before we know stuff, we talk, and ask questions we can't answer, and ask questions and I just hate the whole thing. It used to be we'd wait a day until reporters...
We knew something.
Yes, until reporters had, in fact, discovered what happened, and then they would tell us what happened. And yet we now are conditioned to need to be there, to need to see every moment, to need to be the latest, the update. I said to Celine, what is the death toll now? I mean, like...
Right, we have an expectation of instantaneous knowledge.
For what reason? It doesn't make us wiser. In fact, it rattles us. And here's the other question I had. Seems to me, that a week ago or so, there was a suicide blast in, I think, Istanbul. Mm-hmm. Same kind of thing. Bunch of innocent people blown to pieces, blah, 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 blah. And I think there'd been another one before that. We didn't run. CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, blah, 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 they didn't all run to Istanbul and stop all programming to talk about that. We only do this if it's Europe.
For the basically lily white colored
For the
European
people who
nations,
look like
yes.
us. That's the only time we engage in this coverage.
And yet, and they're already putting up no Americans known to have.
Yeah,
been,
like
like that matters.
Yeah, apparently it does, and it matters if it's in an African and an Asian country. It doesn't matter. It's only when it hits what we consider us, and that would be Europe and the U.S. and Canada, I suppose. Right? That's
right.
us. And I am put off by that. Meanwhile, this is exactly what some feared happening while this insane presidential campaign was happening in this country, because terrorist assaults on us, and believe me, already Trump and the others are acting as if that's us. They wouldn't do that if it were on Istanbul. But this now allows them to demagogue more,
right.
to scare people more, to
right.
ratchet up.
I think it had more to do with their identifying the new suspect and they're wanting to get off an attack before they were discovered.
Well, maybe. I mean,
obviously I'm making that up, but I find the timing interesting.
Well, I think my gut told me that, yes, so one of these guys gets caught. They're fearful since he was the one who failed to kill himself.
To detonate, and there appears to be another one because they found a belt.
Right, that maybe he, you see, but this is what we do, we speculate, that he might in fact crack, he might talk, so they were all... I'm sure this kind of thing would have been in the planning for some time. It's not like they just put this, together in the last few days. But they, it is true. They might have done it more quickly than they would have, so they can do it and get the hell out. I have no idea.
No, they're not supposed to get the hell out.
Oh.
That's the whole point. I mean, the mastermind, I suppose, is supposed to get the hell out, but the rest of them are supposed to die.
Yeah, they're all supposed to die. So, I don't know what wow. What scares me is that this does feed into the populist fear that is raging all over Europe and our country as well. And this allows right-wing demagogues to seize power.
It does. I mean, I have to admit, I was thinking that I was going to go to Europe for a wedding next year, and going, I don't want to go.
It's funny because I was thinking that too. I said Susan wanted to go, and I bet she's thinking, I think I'll stay.
I think I'll stay home. Well, it's not like I'm such a brave traveler anyway,
Right.
So. So I agree that it's going to change my behavior, but it's not going to send me to right-wing demagoguery.
Right. But
I mean, there will be a scale. And did you happen to treat yourself to a day of AIPAC yesterday?
Oh, dear God. What, do I look like a masochist? No. I did happen to see John Kasich's speech. That's the only one I saw. And frankly, I thought for Kasich, it was a stem winder. It was a really...
I had a friend that texted me saying that he was magnificent.
Yeah, no, it's true. It was a really... I mean, you can see... I'm sure that almost the entire place there was thinking, oh, God, why can't we let this guy?
Right.
Because he seemed... do you know who wrote Trump's speech I just saw today?
Who?
He never has...
Because it was terrible. It was just terrible.
I didn't hear it. He never, reads a speech like he did at AIPAC, but he wanted to, I guess his people said, you got to not screw around with this one. You got to get it just right. I read somewhere that the speech was written by his son-in-law.
Well, it wasn't very good.
Son-in-law
It just was a knitting together of everything he thought the audience would want to hear, with no actual policy to back it up. He just frequently said, "Believe me, believe me." I mean, like 400 times.
Well, I heard that the audience laughed when he said, and he wasn't going for a laugh line, that nobody read and studied that Iran deal more than I. Believe me. And then he said, believe me, and the audience laughed. Because, are you kidding me? I mean, do they think...
Well, I found the audience a little bit too responsive to him, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, sure.
Anything other than stony silence by that group, I consider a betrayal.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of, that AIPAC does not speak for me. It might be the
No, AIPAC doesn't speak for me either. But there were a range of people there, and there were rabbis that walked out.
I know, but they were just a little bit. It was, and Obama must be thinking, hey, over here, I'm in Cuba. Hey!
It's raining.
Are they going to rain out the game? There's a baseball game today.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how today is going.
So it's not going well. It's like God is not. And did you?
No, and that terrible
The limp-wristed.
The limp-wristed. Well, it's like his arm. It doesn't look like it's his arm. It looks like it's going to fall out of the sleeve.
He doesn't want it. Well, Castro grabbed it. He grabbed his arm and pulled it up, and Obama wrested it from him very quickly, but not in time for but yeah, it doesn't look like he's. It is so funny. And then
this is delicate, and it's especially delicate when we do have Guantanamo, and when we really shouldn't.
No, we really shouldn't.
And it's not just that's not just a liberal position. That's a position by Army people. It serves and naval people. It serves no logistical purpose.
Well, stop and think about it, Susan.
It was just stolen by Teddy Roosevelt.
Right. Stop and think about it. Can you imagine?
Even.
Yeah, I know. Stop and think about it. Can you imagine Americans tolerating a Cuban military base?
But they decided that Rhode Island was theirs.
A good. I mean, what? What is that doing there?
And they sent you, get this, $4,296 a year in annual rent.
Oh, Jesus. No, it's disgusting. God almighty. So the Republicans were freaking out because Obama has that picture in some square there with Che's face in the background.
Right.
And they were tweeting out all kinds of things like, oh, yeah, here it is, Obama in front of a communist mass murderer, blah, 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 blah. And thank God somebody then found a picture of George H.W. Bush happily standing with some Chinese mucky-muck
in front of Mao.
And I swear, Mao killed a lot more people than Che Guevara ever did. And I wonder if they were all flipping out then.
Oh no, that's always different.
Oh God. Oh dear. I don't know, Suze. What kind of a world?
I don't know, and it's even like overshadowing Dancing with the Stars with Antonio
Brown.
What's his name?
Brown.
Brown.
I wanted to watch that last night, and then I didn't. I forgot.
Well, I actually considered it homework.
Because you thought I would. So how did he do? Not so good?
Of the three football players.
Oh, there's three football players.
There's three football players. There's Doug Flutie.
Oh, man, but he's an old man by now.
Yeah, and he's an old white man. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay, he's an old white man. And then there's the guy who was the MVP
and then there's
of the
Von
Super
Miller,
Bowl.
who's
Von Miller.
This total giant.
Yeah,
huge. Super Bowl MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Both Antonio and Von for a first night's dance did quite well and are going to prove fun to watch.
Oh, good.
But I would not recommend. I mean, it was brutal to have to watch that last night.
Isn't it the worst?
Just the worst. And it's so interesting to me that they've managed to make it cheesier every year.
Well, how can it be cheesier? How? How is that even possible?
Oh, they just have these awful little, professional dances with these. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
It's cheesy. Yeah. I don't know any other way to say it.
Tawdry? Cheesy. No, cheesy is probably just right. Oh, and speaking of other stories, just because I don't want to...
We can't.
We can't? But I can do this one.
No. I mean, we can't just sit there and...
Talk about Brussels.
Talk about the other thing nonstop, so go.
Okay. By the way, this is going to sound awful, but the thought did occur to me because I'm hearing Brussels. Do Brussels sprouts have anything to do with Brussels? I'm sorry. I know that's not something I should, but that's where my head goes. What do you think?
Maybe that's where they originated. Why would they call them Brussels any other way?
Well, you tell me. That's what I was thinking. The only other time you hear the word Brussels, but it's Brussels sprouts. right? It's not
Right.
Brussels sprout. It's Brussels sprouts. I wonder if there's a Belgian connection. So anyway, so the U.S. And our security apparatus have been going toe to toe and taking Apple to court to get into there, and all of a sudden, the U.S. says, "Never mind." Did you see that?
Themselves a hacker.
What the hell? What? I mean, they said, we have to. We can't do this. We need you. And Apple's saying, well, we really don't know if we could do it either. And blah, 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 blah. And now, never mind. Yeah, some guy said, hey, guys, look, you could just do this.
Yeah,
So-
he said, I think I can get in there. And that's fine.
Well, but if that's true.
All's fair in love and hacking. Well, anybody that doesn't think that it's possible, to get into...
Just about anything.
Yeah. I mean, for the amount of stuff that most of us have accessible on our phones and our personal devices, it's amazing that any of us have any money left in our bank accounts and haven't been stolen blind.
Well, I think that's true, too. I mean, and I just figure it's sort of like worrying about being the victim of a terrorist attack.
Right.
You
It's
got to
a matter
just
of luck.
Yeah, it's just being in the
Bad or otherwise.
Yeah, bad or otherwise. Just you can't stop living your life. You got to keep moving. But yeah, you wouldn't be surprised if.
No.
Did you find anything about Brussels?
Oh,
Wait.
No.
Celine
You're
is.
talking. Okay.
I probably can't do the pronunciations correctly.
Okay, but what'd you find?
So, according to Wikipedia, which is a somewhat nefarious source, they think that it comes from the two separate words in Old Dutch,
Okay,
meaning marsh, which would be broke,
Okay,
and home, which is zell.
okay.
So,
But it's coming from that neck of the woods.
right.
So it is maybe. Well, that may be what Brussels means in the first place. All right, so maybe. Who knows?
Possible.
Brussels sprouts.
Oh, I'm talking about Brussels, the town.
No. I'm talking about Brussels sprouts.
Oh, I don't know.
Derivation of Brussels sprouts.
All right. I just want to. It's totally not the same, but it's reminding me. One of the issues is that Brussels and sprouts both end in start in S, right?
Yeah, so you allied
So
them
the
through.
Brussels sprouts or Brussels sprouts. So last night I ordered in because I can, and one of the things that I ordered in was a beet salad, and I happened to look on the top of the carton and it said beets salad. The Beets own the salad. BEET apostrophe.
Oh
S
God,
salad.
it's one of those poor folks who just throw apostrophes all over the place, right? It's the beet salad. Well, it is. It was. The Beets did own the salad. You did order a beet.
Yeah, and it was
salad.
good.
Was it good? Okay. Oh God. Well, I don't know. Celine has a picture that's making me. She's got a nice picture of a Brussels sprout up on her screen, but I don't think she's finding it anyway.
She's looking.
Yeah. So, oh God.
So, okay, just as long, because I said beets, you want to know what I thought of next?
What?
Well, they're redoing the arch grounds in St. Louis, and they've chopped down all the trees, and they're going to plant new trees, but the ground in there is just solid clay, so it's not really great for growing things. So guess what they did?
I don't know.
Well, it would be some way of augmenting the soil, but what they did is for 2 years running, early spring, they planted this kind of radish that has very long and deep roots.
Oh, and it breaks up the soil.
And it does the aerating in a way that nothing else can, and then they let them rot, and it augments.
What a great idea!
And it's such a great idea that they're going to do it in Central Park.
Well, I could do it too.
You could do it too. I'm just passing it on because I thought that was genius.
We've got a lot of clayey soil here.
Well, it's a special kind of radish, so just Google arch grounds. There's an article in the Post-Dispatch. You'll know what kind to plant, but it makes sense. You plant them, you let them go, and it just does a job on your soil.
Oh, I like that idea. We have a caller. Hello.
Hey, the French word for Brussels sprouts is choux de Bruxelles, which is Brussels cabbages.
Oh.
And that's what they look like.
Huh?
That's what they look like.
Yes, mini cabbages. Okay, bye.
Bye.
So maybe people in Brussels couldn't grow full-size cabbages.
For some reason. Well, in Brussels, the way they spell Brussels is with an X? Bruxelles? No. Why am I thinking that? Because that's what she just said. Okay. Well, whatever. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, it depends on where you are. I mean, isn't Brussels half German, half French? In terms of what they speak?
I think Brussels speaks... There's a Belgique kind of a... I don't know. What do they speak in Brussels? Is there a
Is there a Belgique?
A Belgique of some sort?
Anywhere other than in Green Bay, Wisconsin?
Yeah, because a lot of people from Belgium and where we came from. But yeah, what's the language? It's mostly, it's not French. I think it's mostly French. But don't they have their own little patois?
Patois, yeah. Who knows? Look at today's subject of today's show is all the things we don't know.
Huh? Dutch and French. Dutch and French.
Okay.
So, oh God. All right. Hey, have you seen that Lane Bryant ad? No. There is a commercial, a video for television commercial for Lane Bryant, which is a purveyor of clothes to larger women. And it's a black and...
What they call plus size. It should just be size.
Yeah. Whatever. Plus size.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so Lane Bryant put together a really nice ad featuring large women wearing underwear and speaking in warm tones about their own bodies, and the networks refused to run it.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
They run Viagra ads. They run,
Check it out. It's really very beautiful. I mean, it has like a tight shot of a woman's midriff in which she's sort of bent over. So you got, like little, you got globs of what I think of as globs.
But they run those Dove ads of real women.
No, but
they're in basically their underwear.
These are women in their underwear, and they're beautiful women in their underwear, and they're happy with their bodies that are large, and have curves and things, and the network wouldn't run it. Hey, you haven't seen that thing? Check it out. No, look it up. I tweeted it out the other day. And it's mind-blowing to me. What is the network saying? I think it was one specific network. What are they saying? That somehow a large woman's body is obscene, whereas a size 4 woman's body is...
An anorexic woman's body isn't obscene? I think that's sort of, I don't know, exactly wrong.
Well, check it out. I'm not kidding. Dorothea has some answers for us. Oh, she's also been watching. We have, these bald eagles with cameras on.
Oh, yeah.
We got a little one that hatched yesterday, and a second one coming out this morning. Dorothy says, I've been watching the bald eagle, And yesterday, one of the 3 eggs hatched. Yeah, this morning, as I watched the mother feed her new eaglet, I wondered how difficult this world would be for this tiny bird. And then I saw the news from Brussels, and I wondered how difficult this world has become for mankind. Sorry, just the ramblings of an old woman. Well, it is true, Dorothea, when you look at that little bird and you look at little children and you think, what a world. It's a world and always has been. It's a cruel world for that bird and for us. We've gotten hoodwinked, I think, by virtue of our wealth and the privilege of living as we do, when we do. I think we've forgotten how cruel the world is. Don't you think, Susan?
Well, we're insulated, that's for sure. And I don't know if it's forgotten or we just fail to notice.
Or you don't want to notice. Why do you want to dwell on it? You want to enjoy life as much as possible, but life's tough. A lot. Some people get a pass. Some people live a sort of charmed existence. But most people, I think, well, I don't know about, most people in the world probably, they struggle. But why do we think we're supposed to be happy all the time? When did it, I always took issue with that, with the founders for that phrase,
the pursuit of happiness.
Happiness. Because in part, I don't know that happiness is the right thing to be.
Is the right goal, right.
And I also don't think, and I think it puts the wrong idea in your head. And I also think that the pursuit of happiness seems particularly ridiculous because I don't think you can pursue it. Happiness happens when you're doing something. You know,
it just happens,
it
right?
Happens.
Perhaps they meant fulfillment.
Whatever they meant, I think it's really screwed up a lot of Americans' heads. I don't like the phrase pursuit of happiness. I'm going to get me some happiness. I mean, it suggests, and is that really the value? Is that the value? I don't know. I mean, it's a nice thing if you are happy and can live happily, but is that the value of what life's about?
I don't know. It gets boring if that's all it is.
Well, it does. Happiness is boring.
No, if you're in a constant state of it, I mean...
Anything constant is, well, yeah. You don't know. How can you be happy if you don't know?
If you don't know, how can you appreciate it if you don't know the other thing?
Everything has to be relative.
Yeah.
All right. So
and one would argue they can't exist without the other. Yeah. Otherwise, it just is.
So, anyway, because this is a wildly free-ranging conversation we're having here today.
From Brussels to Brussels sprouts to radishes to happiness.
Yeah, and starting with Yates.
Starting with Yates.
I know. So here's the other thing. Dorothea brought up that tiny little bird who's now a day old, and the sibling is trying to get out of its shell as we speak. There was a piece. I've talked before about how blown away I am by the intelligence of crows and parrots and certain birds. They're mind-blowingly intelligent. Right, mind-blowingly intelligent. And by the way, did I tell the audience? Did I tell you I was walking in my neighborhood on one of the wonderful sunny, summery kind of days we had recently? And I saw a couple approaching me. They had a child in a stroller, a man and a woman, and the guy had a backpack on. And when they walked past me, I happened to see that the backpack was an odd backpack and had, like, it was a cage. And inside it was a glorious cockatoo.
Right, out for a walk.
Out for a walk. A cockatoo. They take their cockatoo for a walk. Oh, I'd never.
Well, that's nice.
I know it's nice. I'd never seen any such thing. Anyway, so there is something in the science section of the New York Times today about how parrots are so friggin' brilliant. Parrots and cockatoos, and there's that whole family. And here's just one, for instance. Unbelievable. You know, some humans think we're the only, well, they're wrong if they think that we're the only tool makers, that one of the reasons we're so smart is we make tools. Well, we now know that actually there's a number of animals that make tools.
Right.
Some certain monkeys do, and certain birds definitely make tools. But have you ever seen a bird presented with a problem right off the top of his little bird brain, make a tool for the job? And this is something that was witnessed, and the scientist who saw it said it was an act of ingenuity. Unbelievable. And it had to do with a cockatoo that had, his name was Figaro for some reason. Figaro had been presented with a bunch of boxes under which were nuts. Figaro wanted the nuts. He couldn't get the boxes up. Figaro ends up spending a lot of time carefully chipping away at the door frame, a wood frame, until he had formed a long, slender pole that he pulled off the frame. Then he takes the pole in his beak, goes over, gets it under the box, and then starts using it to pull the nuts out. Well, how amazing is that? It said,
well, you can't go over it. You better go under it.
So the scientist said it took him 20 minutes to make that tool, but presented afterwards with the same situation, he made the tool in 5 minutes and got right to the nuts. I mean, so he had figured it out.
He learned. Yeah.
And here's the other thing. He was not alone in the room. There were other cockatoos in cages that were watching. And as soon as they were let out, they all started chipping away at wood.
They learned.
They learned from watching him. I got to get me one of them. And they're all in there with their various little tools going for the nuts. And then Figaro, after a while, wearied of it. I mean, he'd figured it out. He ends up, it says, he started using his sticks to draw patterns in a sandbox that they had. So he was doodling. He was making art. Amazing!
Well,
amazing.
Maybe he can write a letter about how he feels being in captivity.
Yeah, right. And not only that, but they have their own language. They definitely communicate, and different parrots in different parts of the forest or the world have totally different languages. Young parrots can easily learn other parrots' languages, much like young humans can easily learn language, but older parrots, they just can't. So you can have a young parrot that becomes multilingual, whereas an older parrot just, knows his own language. Unbelievable, really. I mean, the birds are unbelievable. Now, how do we call them bird brains, which means stupid?
Well, I've been
What
thinking
kind of
about that the whole
stupidity
time.
is
You have to
that?
change the definition of bird brain.
Well, but there's always this stuff we do to animals where we denigrate them.
Where
if
we
they
just assume that we are superior and more worthy, yes.
and we have the wrong, well, the other one I always use, and I know my audience is sick of me hearing it, is the flower, pansy. The pansy is about the toughest flower I know.
Right, they'll survive anything except heat.
Right, they don't want heat, but they can take I mean, the pansies are out there now. It can go down to 25. They're not going to freeze. They're looking hot. They're going through the whole. They're amazing. They're anything but what we think of as a pansy. Why do we do that? Just pick the totally wrong word. I don't know. So, okay, I got two things.
What?
If we can, I hate to do it, but go back to Trump. No, one thing with, turns out that a week or so before Scalia died, did you see this? That the Chief Justice, John Roberts,
Yes.
happened to give a speech at a school, a law school, and he went really off on the politicization, I can never say that word, of the nomination process. So this is before Scalia dies and
Right.
we have this current. And he, no, I got the wrong one here.
No, he did say it shouldn't be a political football. That the Senate pretty much had a duty to do its job and keep the court filled. And not handicap the court, and he pretty much gave direction.
Yeah, and here's what he said, quote, he says, "Look at my more recent colleagues, all extremely well qualified. And the votes they received were, I think, strictly on party lines for the last three, or close to it. And that just doesn't make any sense. That suggests to me that the process is being used for something other than ensuring that the qualifications of the nominee are in order," which, he said, what he's saying is, yes.
That's the only thing you have to decide.
Yes, Elena Kagan was absolutely qualified. Yes, Sonia Sotomayor, absolutely qualified. Yes, Justice Alito, qualified. He said none of these. And then he points out that Antonin Scalia, when he was up for his, think of him. He was a total right-winger. Everybody knew it. Do you know what the Senate vote was on Antonin Scalia?
It was probably a majority up. They didn't do it on party lines.
It was unanimous.
Yeah.
It was 98 to nothing.
Yeah.
98 to nothing. And you can bet that meant a ton of Democrats who couldn't stand couldn't say, no, this man, this jurist is not qualified. And in 2007, listen to what Scalia said about it. He said, "I was confirmed 98 to nothing. I was known as a conservative then, but I was perceived to be an honest person. Today, I wouldn't get 60 votes." He's saying I would never be confirmed today. Anyway, a lot of people are thinking that the Chief Justice has clearly said, he's also said he really adores this Garland that they
he's
were
a
pals.
fine human being.
Yeah, right. And he actually has said, anytime Judge Garland disagrees, you're in a difficult situation. So, he's so respected, this guy. To make the court as political as we have in recently, this is a recent phenomenon. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was confirmed she got 96 votes. Ginsburg did. And you can bet a lot of Republicans thought, oh, God, this old Jewish, Herod, and what are we going to do? Yeah. But they voted for her because she was absolutely qualified. So what we are seeing is not only unconscionable, but it is truly evidence of the damage that the Congress has done to the Supreme Court's credibility.
To all of to our basic systems, it's just...
You know what, Susan? Think about it. The Republicans have made Americans suspicious of absolutely every institution.
That's right.
They've been party to it.
Our
Undermined.
basic faith in
Everything. Everything.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why Donald Trump is now essentially the leader of their party. Huh?
You know what? You are cutting in and out.
Oh, no. Am I?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. Margie wants to know, what would the birds be thinking right now? Meaning, maybe we should ask birds what the hell's going on in our world. Okay. So, I want you to check out that Lane Bryant ad. Okay? How about if I do something we haven't done in a million years and take a little break? Susan?
Lynn, you're gone.
I'm gone?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how could you say,
Well, because there was I didn't hear anything you just said.
But I said, can you hear me now?
Here's what I heard, but I said, do you hear me now?
That's what I said.
Okay.
So maybe I'm talking in sentence fragments. Maybe I'm not making any sense. Can we go to a quick break? Sure. Susan?
Yeah.
Can you look up, you have your computer there?
Can I look up what?
The Lane Bryant ad.
Yes.
I want you to look at it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Kids have the craziest ideas about food. Where do they get this stuff? Like eating Brussels sprouts helps you hit home runs.
Listen to what she just said.
And eating carrots gives you X-ray vision. It's nuts. And I honestly have no idea where my daughter got this notion that broccoli is the official food of professional ballerinas. Kids, the only reason my 4-year-old loves cantaloupe is because he's convinced it comes from the moon.
One small step for man, lots of potassium for mankind.
And the other day when my oldest came up to me and said, Mom, will eating peas and carrots really help me pull off a fakey frontside ollie with a twist? I look him in the eye and say, it can't hurt, honey. It can't hurt.
Moms everywhere are finding creative ways to help their kids eat 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
How weird was it that the first almost words out of that woman's mouth as we went to the break was Brussels sprouts? Susan!
What?
You're watching? Okay. Susan's watching the ad. Susan, you didn't hear it, but we ran a PSA, and it was the first words out of this woman's mouth was something about eating Brussels sprouts.
Yeah. Okay, I think that ad is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
and both ABC and NBC refused to air it.
And what
I think it's beautiful.
I agree. It's
and
beautiful.
There's absolutely nothing. I mean,
what could it be that what is their problem? It's such a wonderful ad. It's so lovely, and it shows real women who don't feel ashamed that they're not a size even 12.
Maybe it was the one that was breastfeeding.
Well,
I'm trying to think.
What do you see any statements from the networks
No.
on why this is seemingly objectionable?
No,
why isn't this a bigger...
ABC declined to comment to people, and NBC said it simply asked for minor edits as a part of a routine review.
What could be the... What's amazing is you've seen ads that make you blush, and if you're in a room with a child, you want to go running from it. All this kind of stuff. And I would like seeing some more than minor edits on a number of commercials that are on the air. That this one, with large women showing their bodies and being, I really think the right word is unashamed. Women are taught to be ashamed of their bodies, and this is women saying, hey, woo-hoo-hoo.
This is the way I look, and I like it, and it's okay if you like it too.
I just think it's an incredibly powerful. I think it's an empowering ad.
It's just a reminder of, you think you've gotten anywhere, ladies?
Nah.
I mean, ask the head of the tennis tournament that had to resign today.
Oh, did he? Good.
Yes.
What the hell was he thinking? You are aware of this jerk.
And when he says they should get on their knees.
The women, professional women tennis players, like Serena Williams, right, should get on her knees and thank
men's tennis.
the men, because without them, I guess they wouldn't have their jobs.
I think that's so interesting because to my way of thinking, it is most notably in tennis that women are watched with equal enjoyment in numbers as the men are.
I think so too. Beyond belief. I'm glad he's gone, huh?
Yeah, gone.
Fuck, jeez, God.
I mean, it took one word from Serena said, "We ain't getting on our knees for nobody."
Yeah, we'll take you down, you SOB. What? I mean, what kind of insanity? You think it's over, and then it's not.
It's so not over. It's right where we started. We're still fighting all these things. I mean, I heard that guy yesterday, and it did make me sit right down and write my check to Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
Of course, I also wrote a check to Pause, but I don't know if that's...
Pause being animal.
Pause is an no-kill shelter in Chicago, and they have, since they came into being... they have reduced the number of animals euthanized in Chicago by about 80%.
Great.
Big thing.
Great. Okay, so I want to tell you, I'm going to give you an Abraham Lincoln quote. This is long before he's president. He's a state legislature in Illinois, sort of like the current president was. And he says he's warning people. It was after a lynching. And he's warning people of what he called a mobocratic spirit and the dangers of wild and furious passions. He also went on to say, beware of individuals, an Alexander, a Caesar, or a Napoleon, who in their search for glory and power might pose a threat to American self-government. The reason, of course, I'm quoting the young Lincoln is because he was talking very specifically about exactly what we're seeing now with Donald Trump. And
it's just,
And he said, Lincoln went on to say that passion is the enemy. It has to be contained. Quote, reason, cold, calculated, unimpassioned reason must furnish all the materials for our future support and defense. So,
and he was a Republican, folks.
Well, he would no more belong to this Republican Party than I.
Well, excuse me, but I think 90% of the sitting Congress do not at this point want to be a Republican.
Maybe. And then they go on how, some of the founding fathers were very nervous about, the potential of mobocracy, especially James Madison. Worried that the people would be easily governed or manipulated by emotion.
And propaganda.
And he said, he called this kind of thing, he said passion and emotion are like, give rise to rapid and uncontrolled spread, like fires, like fevers, like contagion. These are rational men. They found passion, exactly what Donald Trump is trafficking in and manipulating, to be a true danger to our system. And then if you realize that, then you look at Donald Trump's actual words. because you see that what he's doing and what he's saying are exactly what young Lincoln and Madison were warning us about.
And he very clearly does a we they sort of thing. I mean, if you're at his rally, aren't we having fun?
Right.
Aren't they awful?
So when asked about his guy who sucker punched the guy being taken out, here's Trump's response. People come, he said this on CNN, people come with tremendous passion and love for this country. And when they see protest, well, they see what's going on. They have anger that's unbelievable. They have anger. They love this country. In many respects, it's a beautiful thing. That's Donald Trump. Compare that to Lincoln. That's Donald. Passion, anger, beautiful.
Beautiful.
Also, when he was told that two men beat up a homeless Latino man last summer and cited Trump as their justification, they said to the cops, Donald Trump was right. All these illegals need to be deported. When Trump was told this, he said this, I will say that people who are following me are very passionate. They love this country. They want this country to be great again. They are passionate.
It's really incredible that he refuses in any way
ever
to suggest that they should stop being violent. I mean, obviously he suggests exactly the opposite. I mean, he doesn't suggest it; he flat out says it.
Max Boot, who is a Republican, who was a foreign policy advisor to Rubio, said that he has never experienced as much anti-Semitism as he has since the start of Trump's campaign. And he said there seem to be no filters anymore, no restraints, no cultural guardrails. And then we're reminded of something that a Scottish novelist said, that the membrane, the thin membrane that separates civilization from barbarism is thinner and more fragile than we imagine.
Right.
Think of that metaphor. Civilization, barbarism, separated by this thin. It's what explains how Germany could have gone insane. And we're seeing this now in our country.
Well, Trump has basically invited all of those people who have been underground for a while, and the same, the racists are anti-Semites, are anti-Muslims, the KKK, and those that's who's been invited out and in.
Right. And so part of this is Trump's, they like him because he refuses to be politically correct. That's how they say it. And these people have felt muzzled for years. Yeah. I can't say the N-word anymore. I can't, make jokes about that religion and these people. And Trump saying, oh, yes, you can. And out it comes. And in a way, maybe we should be, thankful that we are seeing ourselves and our country people in an unvarnished, honest way, rather than the covered up thing that happens when political correctness takes over and people keep their real thoughts to themselves while inside they're ready to explode in a fury of pent-up passion and rage and love for their country. Anyway, here's a guy who wrote about this stuff, and he says this. The Founding Fathers, knowing history and human nature, took great care to devise a system that would prevent demagogues and those with authoritarian tendencies from rising up in America. That system has been extraordinarily successful. We have never before faced the prospect of a political strongman becoming our president until now.
Well, I am hopeful that the majority of us on Election Day will see a clear path.
Okay.
I mean, I was in my car this morning early and came back, and I was thinking about this. I was, sitting there in amazement once again that we were at this place.
Yeah.
That this could even happen and get this far is frankly so shocking. And honestly, if the vast majority of Republicans aren't sitting back and looking very squarely at themselves and asking exactly what they did that allowed this to happen.
Well, I think the people who need to be doing that are not necessarily doing it. Can I read you a letter written by a Trump supporter? Just to, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, I
this.
know.
Okay, so here, okay. This is written to the New York Times. I've been reading columnists in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, the New York Times, as they all, in lockstep, excoriate Donald Trump and, by implication, those who support him. Out here in the hinterland, this guy's writing from Pennsylvania, we evangelicals see things a little differently. We see folks like you as the establishment. And while it's clear that you do not understand us, we do understand you. You think anyone who would vote for Trump isn't very smart. You scoff at religious-minded Trump supporters as hypocrites. After all, Mr. Trump has been married 3 times. He doesn't know the second book of Paul's letters to the church at Corinth is known as 2 Corinthians, not 2 Corinthians. We know he's crass, often cruel, and sometimes lacking in oratory refinements. We wish he weren't so, but we marveled as we watched Mr. Trump demolish the primary tool that has allowed liberalism and secularism to control the debate for decades: political correctness. Mr. Trump's posturing, his crassness, his rudeness, his simplistic descriptions of international issues, his demeanor, we see it all. And yet we have decided to vote for him. For all of Mr. Trump's faults and sins and deficiencies, he won't be the first president to have them. That is a basic tenet of Christianity. We know we're all deficient and sinful, and only God's grace can heal us. We have faith that Mr. Trump will seek the Lord when confronted by the awesome duties of leading the greatest country in history. We are desperate for change, and in future columns of the New York Times, I will be looking for reasons that we should listen to you, part of the establishment that got us into this mess. Okay, that is a very articulate.
Yeah, it's articulate and foolish all at the same time.
Yeah.
He can list all of those things and say he sees all of those things. Exactly what does he base his faith that he's going to see the Lord and do right in the end?
Nothing.
I mean, how do you get from Part A of the sentence of the thesis to Part B?
Right.
It's a leap that has nothing to in its stupidity.
It's a word, Susan. In a word, it's faith. That's how you get the leap,
stupid.
because he says literally, we have faith
Yes.
that Trump will seek the Lord when he gets into the White House, and he won't be this crass, cruel, all these things this guy acknowledges he is. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Okay, but that's, I think...
And frankly, the letter lost me when I was told that, I didn't understand him, but he sure as hell understood me. Screw you.
Well, I don't know, because I think he's saying, look, people like me have to listen to people like you talk down to us all the time. I understand you, but you never hear me. And I think there's some truth in that. I do.
I don't. I hear them all the time.
You might hear them, Susan, but are you listening?
I'm even listening. I'm just not agreeing.
All right. I don't know. Okay. Hey, guess what? We're done.
Oh, we're done.
And on a final... Wait.
I get to go exercise.
Yes, okay, me too. But Louise writes, the Brussels sprout is a member of the something group of cabbages, grown for its edible buds. The leafy green vegetables are typically 2.5 to 4 centimeters and look like miniature cabbages. That's why I like them. The Brussels sprout has long been popular in Brussels and may have originated and gained its name there. There we go.
Okay, what that means is nobody knows.
That's exactly right. Someone sometime in Brussels decided to miniaturize, maybe through hybridization, right?
That's what I think. Or accidentally had a crop of stunted
puny
cabbages, tasted them, thought they were good and cute, and then bred them. That's probably how it happened.
Who the hell knows? All right, guys. Thank you for listening. And Susan, thanks for being here.
I hope the day gets better.
Yeah, don't we all? Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Have a great one. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.